Yeah, I guess let's do it. Okay, hey guys, welcome to the Homes and Hustle podcast. I'm Dylan.
I'm Keaton. This is our special guest, Tim, with Fathom Realty. He's actually my team lead, so we're excited to have him on today.
Thanks for having me.
How are you doing, Tim?
I'm great. It's an interesting market. There's some volatility. We're busy, which is good, but I feel like keeping our finger on the pulse of this market is more important now than ever. It's just interesting is the word that keeps coming, because it's
true.
Like one week to the next is just something different.
You're working on a couple different things right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Have anything interesting today?
Yeah, I have a land deal coming.
Okay.
I have a land deal actually in the Sherwood Hills neighborhood of Provo, which is kind of an elite neighborhood.
Oh, nice.
So it's two lots. They're both about just over a third of an acre. Combined, they're about 3/4 of an acre.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, just super nice $1 million homes up there. And
Are they right next to each other?
Yeah, they back to each other.
Nice.
So one backs to Mile High Drive, the other one backs to the I forgot the name of the street below it, but yeah, has kind of the terraces, and so somebody can build a pretty nice home.
Dude, that's sweet.
I was working on some investment stuff for investors in South Salt Lake County, North Utah County, actually doing some rural work, which is always interesting. I'm doing some stuff for some clients out in the Price area,
Really?
which is intriguing.
Dang. So are you doing like USDA stuff with that?
No USDA. These are all. It's actually multifamily stuff that I have some clients looking at.
Nice.
So I'm headed to Price tomorrow to look at some a 5-plex, a duplex, and then kind of a cross commercial residential property.
Is that like a store and then you can live in it too?
Exactly. So it's 2 commercial units in the bottom, like right on Main Street. I think it's Main Street, just right downtown Price, and then a few residential units. And yeah,
nice.
It's
Just like those old school, live above the candy shop.
Totally.
type of deal.
I love just so much character, right?
I'd be okay living there probably.
Sick.
No doubt. I do a lot of new construction, so I feel like I'm helping investors with like condos and townhomes all the time. I love breaking away from new stuff and just seeing like old, interesting stuff. And so
That's cool.
I have a couple of my own that I'm working on as well, just rehabbing, and
Nice.
I have a 100-year-old property that we're rehabbing in downtown Provo.
Oh my gosh. Right now, my house that I live in, it was built in the 1940s. So it's an old house, it's brick, it's pretty nice, but it's crazy seeing like all the modern real estate, and you like go in and tour, everything is like white and gray.
Yep.
But this one is like so old school, like hardwood, and like pipes are everywhere.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool.
That's awesome. The wood paneling,
Yes.
every 40s and 50s built house always has like a built-in cabinet.
Mine has
somewhere.
a built-in ironing board. It has a seasoning cupboard
That's
that's built in the kitchen. They really do. And my whole bedroom, the entire wall is closets that are built in with cabinets above it, and cabinets on the side that are built in.
Totally.
Like, they just love that.
Yeah, I have a listing that's under contract that was built in 1909.
Holy.
And yeah, just so you come into this thing, and it's a cool house. It's built in 1909. It's on 1.1 acres.
That's huge.
It's a big piece of land. So in one of the bedrooms, there's just a wall of closets, and I had my 11-year-old daughter in there, and this closet's super deep. And we went back in the corner of this closet. We saw that it goes up into this like upper crawl space.
What?
And I'm like, Penny, I'm gonna boost you up there, see what you can see, because this thing's 100 years old. Who knows what she's gonna find? So she goes, and it's like a catwalk that connects to the closet of the bathroom.
What?
It's like this extra storage that connects the bedroom to the bathroom next door, and it's just this cavernous cool closet.
That's cool.
Yeah,
That's
I
interesting.
love stuff like that. So
That's
super
really
fun.
cool.
You have how many properties that you specifically own?
Yeah, so a couple townhomes, couple single family homes that aren't mine, and then I have a triplex. So I guess doors, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8 if you count my primary residence.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
we're small potatoes compared to a lot of people, but we're doing that.
Dude, that's enough to set you up for some financial freedom
yeah.
and take care of your mortgage and
No doubt.
help you out with a little cash flow.
No doubt.
That's cool.
We've been blessed for sure.
Yeah.
It's been good.
That's sweet, man.
So how long have you been like a real estate agent?
Yeah, I left corporate America. I moved to Utah 12 years ago to take a job in
Where
corporate
from?
America. From Phoenix.
Oh, cool.
So I was in Phoenix for 6 years. I'm from Oregon. Actually got a job offer in Portland,
Really?
Oregon, and one in Provo, Utah. And I'm like, there's no way we're moving to Provo, Utah. But we had 5 kids at the time, and as my wife and I thought about it, we were like, Provo's the right fit. Like, we got to take this Provo gig. Financially, they were equivalent.
Yeah.
Safer than Oregon.
Right.
too.
I mean, you're from Portland.
Yeah.
I had family in Portland, and I was excited to, go back to roots, but Provo was just the answer we received. And so, went and worked in that job for too long, frankly. Worked in it for 6 or 7 years.
What did you do there?
I was in tech sales. I worked for an education tech company, and I was a business-to-business salesperson. I private labeled education software and sold it to colleges and universities. So I was
Nice.
on the road a lot.
That doesn't sound too bad.
It was good. It was a good gig, but
Not your calling,
I
not
was
your dream.
I was complacent, and I feel like I could do it with my eyes shut, and was doing well, like leading my department, and got laid off actually.
Really?
And so had my real estate license for 9 months before I got laid off,
Mhm.
and I've done 4 transactions during that 9 months.
So before you got laid off and you got it like 9 months prior, were you wanting to get into real estate? Is that kind of what prompted you to do that?
Yeah, I kind of had that. I had some family in real estate. My wife's brother and sister were in real estate, and I'm like, oh, if they can sell real estate, I know how to sell stuff. I can sell real estate, and so I kind of I never had the intention to like leave full-time employment to do it. But
Yeah.
once I got laid off,
You're like, this is the sign.
right? I
That's
asked my
cool.
wife. She was like, "Where are you going to go apply to? What jobs are you going to apply to?" I'm like, I'm not. Let's just do real estate full-time. We had a little bit of a pipeline.
Yeah.
We had 6 kids at the time, so it was a little scary.
That is scary.
And that first year, so I got laid off November, December. Really started. I had severance for a couple of months, which was nice. That first year, January to December, we did 12 deals.
Nice. One
It
a month.
was, yeah, one a month. And if one of them would have fallen through, we would have been in trouble. But
Oh my gosh.
the next year, that doubled. And the year after that, we doubled and just kept building and building. And it's been really good. Best career move ever was getting laid off from that.
Oh my
job.
gosh.
Great
If
company.
only they could see you now, man.
Right. It worked out well.
Very cool.
So along with the investing, I guess, what are some tips that you would give as far as finding a deal, analyzing the deal for these newer, younger cats getting into the game?
Yeah, no doubt. So for people wanting to invest themselves, the numbers have to make sense, right? Find the numbers have to make sense. I think in any market you can find a property where the numbers make sense. I mean, a lot of people were worried even 4 or 5 months ago once interest rates skyrocketed. They're like, oh, how am I going to cash flow? How am I going to break even? Cap rates are super low, and there were still deals to be found. There may have not been on-market deals like on the MLS, but there was. If you hustle hard enough, if you work hard enough to find deals, that they're out there. So, make sure the numbers make sense.
So when you talk about numbers, are you talking about, do you mainly do like long-term rentals? Do you do short-term rentals? What do you like to do?
So personally, all mine are long-term rentals.
Uh-huh.
I for the clients that I help, about half my clients are investors.
Mhm.
We do about 50-ish deals a year.
Nice.
And
Hey, that's better than your 12.
definitely, we've grown since the 12, and probably a little bit over half of those are investors.
Mhm.
And I've had a couple do short-term
Yeah.
rentals. Most of them, they're working on like flying under the radar, and it's hard to find short-term rentals in the
It's
right
hard to
zone.
do it in Utah because of the zoning and the
100%.
community rules and
Really?
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like even St. George, you have to have zoning. Like a short-term rental has to be in a neighborhood zoned for short-term rental.
Really?
You can't have like a primary residence be a short-term rental unless you live there, and you have an ADU or something like that. So
Yeah,
like,
Wow.
I've noticed that has translated here. Similar
It has.
laws and similar policies. So
Yeah.
that's probably why the short-term rental side is a little bit less as far as what you're coming across.
Especially up here compared to southern
yeah.
Utah. So yeah, almost all my clients are doing long-term rentals.
Mhm.
A huge portion of them are buying properties with an accessory apartment.
That's huge right now, huh?
Yeah, it really is. And Utah in the last couple of years has become really friendly towards ADUs, just because we're running out of land to build. The
Right.
Wasatch Front is in this valley with public land on either side, and so
Yep.
they become a lot more friendly to ADUs. And so I've had I personally, and I've had clients looking for something that you can transition into 2 units. And so I have
That's cool.
Yeah, I have a townhome in Bluffdale that's Edge Homes built and has a walkout basement. I helped 7 clients buy the same exact townhome that have walkout basements. I think 5 out of 7 of them have converted that basement into a 1-bedroom apartment, and so they're getting
That's awesome.
$2,000 to $2,300 for the 4-bedroom apartment up top, and $1,000 to $1,200 for the 1-bedroom apartment. And it's it costs they have to build it out. You're looking at 25 to 30 to build out that 650 square feet into a 1-bedroom apartment. But once
it's a worthwhile investment.
It'll
pay itself off.
Absolutely.
Wow.
So that's always on my radar. Something that you can turn into a couple unit.
Always have multiple exit points at that point, right?
Absolutely. And if you can get multiple renters in there, and if it complies with HOA and zoning, you're golden.
That's cool.
So.
That's awesome, man. Hey, I got a question for you.
Okay.
How did you get started in real estate investing? Did you own your own house and you had a basement that you turned into something that you rented out, or how did you get started?
That's a really good question. Mine's a little bit unconventional. For a lot of my clients that are in their 20s, they're house hacking.
Yeah.
They're buying something as owner occupied, living there for a year, buying something else, turning that into a rental property. I'm 42. I got started late in the game. I got into it. I'll tell you about my first investment.
Yeah, let's hear it.
And then I'll tell you about how it kind of snowballed. My first investment property was my next door neighbor's house.
Really?
Yeah. So we had a house, and there's a huge side yard between my house and the next door neighbors, and we were just getting too tight for the square footage we had. We had 8 people in 3,000 square feet, and we needed to either move or add on. And so we wanted to add on because there was this big side yard that my neighbor owned. And so my neighbor was a super nice 77-year-old lady that was a renter. And so I found out her landlord's info. Really nice guy that lived in Florida named Gary.
Yeah.
And so I called Gary and I said, Gary, I'd love to buy 20 or 30 feet of this parcel, of your parcel, so we can add on to our house. Or if you're open to it, I'd love to buy your home. This was pre-pandemic. Prices were still relatively low.
Yeah.
And he's like, let me think about it and I'll get back to you tomorrow.
Cool.
Called me the next morning. He's like, yeah, I'll sell you my home.
Really?
And he's like, pull comps. I wanted to give him a fair deal. I wanted to give him at least, a market deal, if not a little bit above, because it was my neighbor's house, and we did the deal and we bought the house and never.
So at that time, were you a real estate agent?
I was.
Oh,
yep.
Cool.
I was a real estate agent. So, so it made sense. It made sense, and bought it off market, and it was.
So did you keep your little old neighbor there, and she was just your tenant now?
She still is, and she's her rent's way below market, and
good.
that was part of the deal was, hey, let's keep this tenant in a good place that's stable, and that's been about 3 years.
That's great.
And it's been great. So after that, I started getting I was in the midst of getting a ton of investor clients, and of all the deals I do, a little over half my deals are with immigrants. So I have a niche where I just have great relationships with some immigrant
the South African community, right?
The West African communities.
So your wife's heritage is from there.
Yeah, Agnes's parents immigrated from Ghana in the 70s, and so
that's your little connection to that, I guess.
That's cool.
Good niche into the West African communities, and so lots of some of my best friends are and investment partners, frankly, are folks from Ghana, Nigeria.
That's awesome that they can come
Coast.
from there and be invested here in Utah.
That's
cool.
That's how I got inspired, because they're so gritty. They just come here. My father-in-law's the same way. Came here, saw the opportunity in the United States, and just hustle and just have no fear. I mean, fear is one of the biggest inhibitors of investing in my mind. It's amazing how they see opportunity. A lot of my immigrant clients see opportunity and they chase it without a second thought. And I witnessed that among many of my clients, and I'm like, I'm missing out.
Yeah. You're like, man, that's a great deal, actually.
I'm so fearful, and so I saw my clients starting to build wealth, and I loved it. I loved helping these communities build wealth through real estate in Utah, and I'm like, I got to do the same thing with my family. So within a short period of time, acquired 3 more properties, and then we just built a house. So we turned that house that we were going to add on to that we never did. We just turned that into a rental property here in the last month. Have tenants coming in the next couple weeks because we just built a new house that we moved into.
Nice.
So in 3 years, we went from 1 to 7 doors in 3 years.
Yep.
It's pretty
That's
short.
impressive.
That's a pretty
It's
short
doable.
time
That's
frame.
motivating right there, man.
And I have clients that did more than that. I have
really?
I have a client in his late 20s. He's pretty high up on the corporate ladder at Goldman Sachs. He's a VP at Goldman Sachs. He's turned into a good friend. He's like, before I hit 30, I think this was his goal. He's like, before I hit 30, and he was like 27, 28, I want to have 10 doors. And he recently did it.
Really?
And,
dude, that's a huge goal. That's awesome.
That's prime example of setting a goal and then reaching it.
Doing it. Totally.
Making everything fall into place and just making it happen.
No doubt.
That's your life. So.
And then you know Joe on our team.
I do know Joe. Yeah, Joe's a cool guy. Is he from Ghana too?
Yeah, he's from Ghana. Yeah. Joe and I own one of my properties. I should say Joe and I own together. So we're business partners in a townhome that I had a client that was going to buy this townhome in Saratoga Springs. A great deal. They got cold feet. They were living in grandma's basement for free. And she just found out she was pregnant. She's like, Tim, we got to pull out of this deal.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's bad. I was like, it's a bad idea. I'm like, my duty is to do what you want to do as a real estate agent. But I know this is a great investment for you. They had this 4-bedroom, 2,300 square foot townhome, 3-story townhome, 2-car garage, under contract for like $294.
What?
What the heck?
Wow. That's unheard of nowadays.
Pre-pandemic. Wow. And I told him, I just had a 30-minute conversation just trying to convince him to stay with it. Not because any motive of mine, like I wanted them to get the deal done. And at the end, they're like, Tim, we just got to pull out. And I'm like, if you do, I said, I believe in this property so much that if you pull out, I would buy it. I said, are you okay with that? They're like, absolutely, go ahead. And so I was a little thin with cash. And so I brought Joe in as a partner. We bought it. The builder, it was a new build. The builder increased the price to $304. We got it for $304, which is still a smoking deal. And Joe and I have known each other since before as a real estate agent. Found out we used to play soccer together on our lunch break in corporate America.
Oh, cool.
Found out after I'd sold a few homes for him that my wife's family and his family had some connections. So they were like, third cousins. And so we named our...
Imagine you show up to a family reunion and see each other. Hey, buddy.
It was so cool. So we named our LLC that owns that property after the city in Ghana that he and my wife's parents are from. So
Whoa,
it was pretty cool.
That's cool. So with the LLC, do you have one for like yourself with all your properties under it, or do you normally put them under your name? Or like, how does that kind of work?
Each individual property has its own LLC.
That's how I do it.
Yeah. Okay.
And I obviously I'm not a lawyer, so I can't advise on it.
Yeah.
But like I know a lot of my clients, a lot of people have an umbrella policy or an umbrella that they have all of their LLCs under. Right now, I have an LLC for each one of my properties. And that seems
it makes it easier for taxes and at the end of the year.
Yep.
I would think.
For sure. We definitely can benefit from some of the write-offs. I pay taxes on each of the LLCs to get done, so that does, cost a little bit of money. But so far, it's working for us. So we're always open to solutions and looking out. So.
Are you familiar with seller finance? Have you done things like that? Because I've noticed that like even in talking with investors that I'm working with, a lot of them are looking more towards seller finance because of how interest rates are, because of the home prices and how they're a little bit higher than they used to be. Tell us your experience with the seller financing and if that might be a good option for someone that's getting into it.
Yeah, it can be a really good option. I've represented clients in buying seller financing deals. I bought my triplex in a seller financing deal, which was really cool. So I can tell you that story if you want. It's seller financing is there's some inherent risk involved depending on when your balloon is due. Mine was due in 18 months, and so there's a little bit of risk. And I bought it, while interest rates were still low. And so I'm thinking of some creative solutions around that. It's gonna work out. But with that deal, I was selling 6 multifamily properties for a client.
Mhm.
And it was a fourplex, a triplex, and the rest were duplexes.
Mhm.
And this was a situation where my client was almost 90, and I was working with her and her son, who was a friend,
Uh-huh.
and she was looking at liquidating her portfolio.
Yeah.
And fortunate enough to have them hire me as an agent to sell them all. I thought the triplex, which is downtown Provo, just a half a block south of the Provo Library, if you know that location,
Mhm.
super prime location.
Right by BYU.
Yeah, right by BYU,
Uh-huh.
just prime, close to downtown, which is up and coming in Provo,
Mhm.
or just a great area. I thought it would be the first to sell. It was built in 1905, so it's an old home, has some really cool old things about it, needs new electrical, needs new plumbing, needs a lot of superficial stuff as well.
Wow.
And so we had under contract, we sold all the properties except for that one.
Mhm.
We'd had that one under contract 3 times. And after the 3rd time, I went to my client and said, hey, I'd love to buy this from you. I'll make it so that the amount that I purchase it from you, you'll actually make more money than the last people we were under contract from.
Wow,
But
that's
I need
generous.
I need to do a seller financing deal. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I totally believe in karma.
Yeah.
And so they agreed to it. We had a relationship at that point, and relationships in this industry are everything.
That's the number one theme.
No doubt. And so they trusted me, and we still have a great relationship. And yeah, I was able to buy it from them. So put a significant amount down,
Mhm.
and then had a monthly payment that we both agreed on, where I cash flowed a little bit, which was great.
Yeah.
And then I've been rehabbing all 3 of the units. So
Cool.
rehabbing 2 of them. I have renters, tenants in one of them. It's been a big topic of discussion in my house because
Really?
it's been taking a long time. This morning,
Oh my gosh.
Actually, my wife called me this morning. She's like, "I'm taking the reins." She's like, we gotta get this done." I think we might turn one of them into a short-term rental just to test that
Really?
market. So it's
see if you like
That'd
it.
be cool.
right.
Please do.
It's going to turn out to be cool. It's taken a little longer than expected. We haven't been super efficient
Yeah.
in that regard. We've been able to float it a little bit, but it's all in all, no regrets. It's been a great purchase. And the seller financing deal, like we probably couldn't have done it if we would have used traditional financing. And so that's oftentimes that's where myself and my clients, oftentimes you can get a better deal with seller financing, but sometimes it's out of necessity as well.
Yeah.
If your credit score is not where it needs to be,
Yeah.
or maybe you don't have as much down, or you can't qualify for the bigger because your income isn't
Right.
as what it could be. So then you use seller finance, get the lower payment,
Yeah.
but then you have that balloon that's like, well, I got to pay this off in 18 months or 5 years or whatever the
Whatever
balloon
it
is.
is, yeah.
Then you either have to refinance it or just figure out how to pay that off, right?
Right.
So,
100%. 100%. So you have a lot to analyze in terms
Right.
of risk, payments, and but so far so good
Yeah.
with what I've done seller financing and with clients that I've represented. So
Cool. I got a question for you.
sure.
Sounds like you got a decent portfolio size, which I think would be a little bit overwhelming, especially knowing like what real estate agents have to deal with, and like you're a team lead, you're a busy guy. So how do you manage all your different properties? Is there a specific software that you use to keep things organized? Like, what's your kind of flow with that?
Yeah, I'm not a great example of that.
No?
I just don't sleep. Just joking. No, we manage all our own properties. There's going to come a time if we keep growing that we're going to have to turn it over to property management.
Yeah.
Joe on our team recently turned his properties over to property management.
he's got a ton of them though.
Yeah, he does. He has.
He's buying like 2 or 3 right now, right?
He's doing some really cool things.
Yeah.
You guys should have him.
And
You guys should have him
he's
on.
building in Missouri too. Like he's
He's doing some.
he's
All right, we'll get Joe on
You
here.
guys need to have Joe on. He'll teach some good lessons. But yeah, right now I'm managing them all myself.
Dang.
And so far so good. I have good tenants. I'm a big believer in good tenants are worth their weight in gold. And if you treat them right, they're going to treat you right.
Mhm.
And yes,
They'll also turn into buyers eventually.
100%. Yeah.
So how do you vet your tenants? Do you just like have a conversation, or is there like you pull their credit, or what do you do?
I do pull their credit. So I do believe in the relationship side of it.
Mhm.
Obviously, I have to be 100% compliant with ADA and protected classes. And
Mhm.
frankly, I like to serve protected classes more than non, and that ends up being a lot of my tenants. But Yeah, I use Rentler for all my applications, and so Rentler has a really good background check and credit check.
Oh, cool.
I think it's good at least.
Yeah, so you just like send them the link and like, yeah, fill this one out.
Yeah, I always put my
does the
listing.
job, yeah.
It does the job. I put my listing on Rentler. I put it other places as well. So if somebody finds it on KSL or word of mouth, like my last one, I'll be like, great, need you to fill out an application. I do like personally. I'm a little. I don't love like how tenants have to spend $30 to $50 on applications.
Right.
Like it feels wrong. Like I hear tenants.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Especially like if it's a really popular listing, you're
Totally.
like, well, we just got to try and go for it, but then you just spent $50. And
Absolutely.
My application fee for my place was like $75.
It's
Wow.
and if you're applying to 10 places, that's $750.
So
Like I'm a big believer in housing rights, and so like I only want people to fill out an application if like I already know that they're going to be a decent fit, they can afford it, things like that.
Mhm.
And I've told people like one of the units of the triplex, like I'll tell them, hey, I'm showing this to 3 to 5 people. I want you to apply. If I don't choose you, send me your Venmo. I'll cover half the cost of that application fee. Just I don't know, it just felt right. But,
No, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I like to do something similar when I do people's applications, not with like dollar amounts, but with their credit pulls. So what I like to do is I will vet them just like with a conversation. If everything sounds good, I'll normally start with a soft pull on their credit. That way it doesn't ding them up and it's like way cheaper. And then if everything looks good, once we have the credit, I'm like, okay, it's good. Let's do the hard pull and let's bring
Perfect.
it to the next level.
Yeah, just low risk, low damage.
Mhm.
Yeah, just doing right by people, no doubt.
Cool.
So then you nurture that relationship, and years down the line, even if they're not with you anymore, they'll still be like, "Well, this guy did us right, so we'll send our friend to Tim to you know."
Totally. If you have a path of doing that in your life, you're going to get referrals. You're going to
That works with everything too.
No doubt.
Everything else.
You don't have one? What are some common mistakes that you see first-time investors making, and how would you advise them to avoid those mistakes?
Great question. Going too fast,
Okay.
being over leveraged.
That would be dangerous.
Right. You gotta. It's so tempting when you catch the bug of investing to leverage all of your other properties to buy the next investment. Sometimes it's a good idea. Sometimes it makes sense. Sometimes the risk makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But if you catch the bug too much and you're like, hey, I want to buy this, this, and this, and I'm going to HELOC all these properties to do it, you're not in a good place.
Yeah.
You're just in debt.
Right. Right.
So sometimes slow down, really think about the deal, and do your research.
Yep. And especially if you like, I love groups where they have friends that they want to build off of, and they want to that they're they have the energy to invest, and they're really
Like motivated.
yeah, motivating each other.
Mm-hmm.
But it shouldn't be a peer pressure issue. It should be an issue to where it makes financial sense and it makes long-term sense. So yeah,
That's cool.
basic advice, but that's my.
No, I like it.
Don't over leverage, and yeah, don't be afraid to take time. Sometimes you have to move quick. Sometimes, I mean,
If the deals make sense, then
Yeah.
you gotta jump on that.
I mean, it feels like every 2 weeks I'm like, I should have done that, or I wish I would have done that one.
I know.
But-
Hindsight 2020, right?
100%. So you got to move quick, but you got to make sure it's.
Are there any things that you personally do with your own deals to help mitigate your own risk?
I'm pretty conservative,
Yeah.
and I'll analyze things to death a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I learned from a lot of my clients is sometimes you just got to do it.
Yeah.
And so once it makes sense, I trust in my gut a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Once it makes sense, once the math adds up, once I know that I have the reserves to do it, you got to do it right away.
Cool.
Yeah.
Jump in head first.
Yeah. Is there any like tax incentives to owning properties? Like, have you noticed that? Like, if you own a property, then you can write some of the things off on your taxes, or there's benefits that your family gets as a result of owning these doors and
Yeah.
things like that.
There absolutely is, especially with the LLC set up.
Yeah.
I mean, I am far from an accountant. I have an accountant that I trust and that gives good advice. But I know that we've definitely benefited on the tax side, especially owning our own real estate business and needing as much tax leverage as we can. we've definitely benefited from real estate. Definitely far from a professional to give advice or to speak on what those are. But yeah, 100%. As I'm preparing, I just extended my 2022 taxes. I'm always a fall filer. I just a little bit of procrastination or having too much on my plate. But as I'm thinking through what 2022 taxes are going to be and meeting with my accountant, like, oh, I'm glad I bought those properties because I know they're going to help for sure.
That's cool.
So,
Sweet.
Good to know, man.
So obviously, as we all know, technology has kind of come a long way in the last couple of years. Is there any technology or processes that you've noticed, or that your clients, that you can offer to clients to better analyze a deal? Is there something that you would prefer or recommend? Even like myself, being a newer agent, working with investors, to be able to like analyze a deal and give them the best opportunity to find the best deal. If that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. I'm pretty basic, to tell you the truth. I'm a relationship builder, and then when it comes to tech, there's some basic calculators that I use. I don't use the latest tech. I know that you and I talked about that offline, and there's some really cool stuff out there, and there's some really cool AI stuff that's coming, and I'm constantly reminding myself that I can't be an old man, and that I gotta recognize tech and implement it, not be afraid to implement it, because
Save you some time.
Totally. And so, there's some really cool tech, and I can't really speak to anything by brand, but there's some really good project management and property management tech that's out there. When it comes to finding the right deal, I mean, the MLS and having IXP polls and making sure that my clients are regularly on a good feed to find deals is important. There's no doubt that we're in a crazy time in history where AI is starting to be implemented in everything. And I'm really interested to see kind of in the next 2, 3, 5, 10 years, what our market's going to look like in terms of just making things easier with everything that's being implemented in the tech world.
It's scary. Sometimes, like, I think about like those sci-fi movies and stuff where artificial intelligence is gonna come and take over the world, and then like one week you'll see like the chat GDP come out, and then the next week you got something else, and it keeps going. It's like,
keeps growing.
when do you unplug because they're gonna take over? I don't know.
It's fascinating. I mean, the ethical argument, just everything from what jobs are going to be overtaken by AI, and the ethical boundaries. Like just listening to a podcast, and sorry, this is deviating from real estate a little bit, but just listening to podcasts about the art AI that's coming out. That you can create art in an instant,
really
patterned after really any artist. And I was
oh, that's cool. So could you say like, draw me a happy face based if Van Gogh were to draw it, or something like that?
Yeah. Draw me the French Riviera at night as if Van Gogh were painting it. And it'll do it in 3 seconds.
There's been some TikToks I've seen of that where they like have posted.
Yeah.
They like drew like a Ninja Turtle holding an umbrella, and they just told it to do that.
Anyway, and it'll do it, and it'll give you 7 variations of it.
That's cool.
I was listening to this amazing podcast of this really renowned artist. He was kind of a Dungeons and Dragons artist, which I'm not into.
Yeah.
But he's into that type of art, and he's one of the most popular. And he's out of like Eastern Europe. He's not out of Eastern Europe. I think he's out of Poland.
Okay.
And just has amazing art, tons of dragons, that type of art. And people are using his name to create mythical art.
Really?
And he's losing money from it.
Oh,
Because
no.
so the ethical argument now is, hey, this AI is using my art to come up with their own art. What's the financial cost of that?
Yeah.
And it's just like the arguments. AI is amazing, and I'm all about progression and technology. But there's a lot of these types of ethical things that we have to look at, and that's going to be said with, as AI implements itself into real estate and investing as well.
I've noticed a lot of agents have started using that Chat GPT to write their listing descriptions on the MLS.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that would save me so much time to just be not have to be creative and just let the computer do it.
Totally. Using it for, I've toyed around with it a little bit. I've never actually used it for my clientele or for my network, but I've said, hey, I send out emails and letters to my network regularly. And one day I had ChatGPT write up hey, what's the market of this? This is how the market of this month's looking email. And it was interesting. It was a little basic.
Yeah.
I would have had to refine it a little bit, but it can do amazing things.
It's surprising. I was messing with it today, writing email templates to send to my clients in my database, and I was like, this is ridiculous how like in depth it was going.
Right.
Just the things that it's pulling and making things going. It's new technology, so it's a little robust, and it needs to be processed a little better.
And then this is the question I ask myself, because I'm a big believer in relationship building. Whether before I was in real estate, when I was in tech sales, just my whole life when I've been in sales, it's all about the relationship. It's all about building trust. It's all about building common bounds and just being a good person. At what point, and I don't know how to phrase this question, but at what point is AI going to be as good of a relationship builder as Tim Reynolds or Keaton?
I don't think it is. It will for a while, to be honest. But
there's something about that interpersonal relationship that people need. And people want when they're investing and when they're spending
there
money.
Is something to be said about efficiency and like using that to get the meeting, and then obviously setting the meeting, and then using whatever meeting appointment to build that, right? Like it's like you said, you don't have a whole lot of time, so automating some parts of your business with AI might be a beneficial thing, right?
Yeah.
So that's something that I think about on a daily basis, especially working a full-time job and then real estate part-time.
Yeah.
I have to be really efficient with my off hours.
Yep.
And so automating things and using that, and obviously doing a podcast and doing a YouTube channel and things like that to more effectively use my free time that I do have.
100%.
So I believe technology is going in a very positive direction, and old guys need to get on there. And
Definitely. Yeah, delegating the nuances to tech and to automated functions will 100% save you.
That's cool. So remind me, how many kids do you have?
7.
7?
Who does that, right?
Well, you live in Provo, right?
I do. Hey, again, I'm not from there. I love Provo. Like, it was crazy. I moved here 12 years ago from Phoenix. I grew up in Oregon. Had never lived in Utah before. Got a job. Got a job in Provo, and I knew it was stigmatized, but we dove right in. Enrolled our kids in Provo School District, and it was a little bit of a struggle at first, but we love it. But I remember when I was first in Provo, I went to an event in West Valley. It was a recruiting event for the school that I was with, and I was sitting next to a lady, and she knew that we were talking, and she knew that I just moved here from Phoenix, and talking to her about how just I love the beauty of Utah and how gorgeous it is, and how take out my trash, look at the mountains, and it's just blown away every single day. I still am after being here 12 years. For 12 years, and she was like, "Now, what part of Utah did you move to?" And I'm like, "I moved to Provo." And she's like, "Provo," and just had the biggest scowl on her face, like the tone of her voice. She's like, "Why would you move to Provo?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I love it. It's cool there." And I do. Like, I'm a huge advocate for Provo. Like, I love the city of Provo. Like, we live right on the river, the rec center, the food scene there is great. But I was talking to her, and she was just telling me her disgust of Utah County and Provo. And I was like,
I feel like it's always Salt Lake County versus Utah County.
Totally.
It's like everybody up here will bag on people down there and vice versa.
Right. And I'm a member of the Salt Lake Board of Realtors. I'm not even a member of the Utah County Board of Realtors. So I do a ton of business in Salt Lake, and I'm up here, several times per week. But I asked her where she's from. She's like, and no disrespect, but she's like, "Oh, I'm from Magna." And I was like, I didn't know where Magna was, but I didn't.
Magna's been gentrified a little bit.
It has.
So it's grown up a little bit.
In hindsight, the diss wasn't appreciated. The pro. So. and I've done business in Magna. They have some amazing neighborhoods coming up. D.R. Horton's put in a really cool neighborhood. even some of the far west parts of Magna, I've helped clients buy and sell in, and
Nice.
great opportunities everywhere.
Would you say most of your business is done in Utah County or up here in Salt Lake County?
It's pretty close to 50-50.
Really?
So, I mean, I work everywhere. Like I said, I do deals in Price. I've done deals in St. George. I've done Davis Weber deals.
Yeah.
I have a client building a custom home that I'm representing them on in a town called Manaway. If you know where Manaway is.
Never heard of Manaway.
Manaway doesn't want you to know about Manaway. Manaway's rad. Manaway is this cool little town. So if you're going from Brigham City to Cache Valley, so right on the other side of Brigham City, right on the other side of the pass, literally 5 miles from Brigham City, up through the canyon is the little town of Manaway. There's a little lake there. I don't know if it's a lake or reservoir, but it's just tucked in this cathedral of mountains.
That's cool.
It's amazing. So yeah, some clients.
That'd be beautiful.
It is gorgeous.
Dang.
So yeah, for my main bulk of transactions, probably 50-50 split between Salt Lake County and Utah County, but then I probably do 10 to 15% of my deals in rural or Davis Weber County.
Yeah. Okay. Have you noticed, as far as on the investing side, more investors are buying in Salt Lake County or in Utah County? Like, is there a difference, or is it pretty even? Is the price points different to where it'd be like, oh, maybe you should look in Utah County, Provo, Orem, or even Lehigh, Traverse Mountain? That area is growing and booming. I know Joe has a couple there, right? Mm-hmm. So and then up here.
Right. Great question. The median price of Salt Lake County is definitely higher than Utah County,
right? Without
a doubt. Inventories. I know this isn't completely answering your question, but the inventory topic is really interesting.
Yeah.
So there's about double the number of population, or the population is probably double in Salt Lake County compared to Utah County. But
Really?
there's the same number of listings in Salt Lake County as there is Utah County, which shows me that the supply and demand is much tighter in Salt Lake County than it is in Utah County. So like it's a hustle to find something quality, especially in the last couple of weeks. It's amazing how we're back to multiple offers in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I just saw one that was 66 offers on one house.
Crazy. I've of 2 offers I've made in the last 2 weeks, 2 specifically, I've had multiple offers. One was 10 offers, one was 8. We were able to get that one under contract, which was great. But we had to go north of list price. We had to go above appraisal. Where it's echoing, what we were doing 2 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
On a regular basis. And so yeah, Salt Lake County, you do get a lot of bleed of people going over to Tooele County. A lot of people are building out in Harriman and the west side of Salt Lake Valley. You got a lot of people that are living in Salt Lake County that are eyeing places like Saratoga Springs and Eagle Mountain, just because you get a lot more bang for your buck, and the commute's not that much different.
That area is growing too.
Yeah, it used to be a little bit hard because there's kind of one way in, one way out of Saratoga and Eagle Mountain.
Yeah.
But now that they've developed Pioneer Crossing and 2100 and Redwood Road, all of these routes in and out of those areas, it's a great place. I do a ton of business there and have a lot of clients that invest out there as well.
That's cool. So what are some of your goals, like your own personal goals for 2023?
Yeah, I mean, I have some quantitative goals that I go over with my team of just the type of clients that I want to help and just keeping my business running.
Yeah.
But I have some goals to build up my team, which is super exciting.
That's cool.
Stoked to have Keaton on the team.
How many people are on your guys' team?
So we have 5. So
Nice.
It's Agnes and I, my wife, and then we have Keaton, Joe, and Cindy.
Cool.
And so have a few more folks that are interested in joining the team. We're selective. We want to have a good culture. We want to have good people on the team. Definitely.
We all are doing different marketing.
Yeah.
As well. So it's nice to have 5 different people doing 5 different things and being like, oh, well, this has worked for me. This works for me.
Yeah.
So like I'm doing the YouTube and the digital more, and Joe's doing he's got his he does dinners every week with people in his house.
Really?
Tim and Agnes do more. They do mailers and events, and he coaches his kids' soccer team. So that's a good way to So
yeah,
it's nice to have that.
Cindy Spanish speaking, so
Yeah.
she's we have a diverse team, which I love.
That's awesome.
And it's
It's the
nice
best atmosphere I've been in as far as in real estate. Like I've thrived more with Tim and Agnes than I did in with my previous team.
Good.
So,
I'm glad, dude.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear, bro.
Get things moving. I love it. Yeah, it's been good. So I have some team goals for my investments.
Mm-hmm.
I need to get this triplex. I need to get it finally rehabbed.
Yeah.
And we're a couple weeks away. So
Nice. That's pretty close.
yeah. And
Hopefully
then,
you'll get people in there by the summer.
yeah.
Nice.
We have some that, with it being right in the heart of Provo.
Mhm.
Provo's there's tons going on there,
Yeah.
whether it's with the city or with the universities. I mean, between UVU and BYU, there's like 100,000 students.
There's
So
a lot.
So, do you ever consider, like, with your triplex, renting it out like per room, and you just make it student housing?
Yeah, so they're all 1-bedroom units. So
Nice.
most of my
It would be per.
Yeah, it
would
is
just
per
be
room.
each unit. would be
Yeah.
just- yeah.
the traditional audience for that unit is like either a single or a young couple. That's
Yeah.
what I've typically had in there. We're gonna try out a short-term rental,
Mhm.
and I think it'll be interesting. It's prime location. We're gonna put some nice furnishings in it to make it attractive.
Make it Instagrammable. That's the big thing that I've heard with
Absolutely.
short-term rentals.
Yes.
If you can take good pictures against any wall, it's going to
Yeah.
make you money.
Amen. And it's easy to do with that one because it has the 11-foot ceilings from this
Nice.
1900s built place. It has
Yeah.
Those tall ceilings are trendy right now.
They
too,
are.
So
we sanded. We found the original hardwood, and so it has just some
Was it
cool
covered
flooring.
up?
It was covered up with
wow.
with some stench as well. Like one of the tenants when I bought it broke his lease and had cats.
Oh,
and I'm all for cat people, but this cat didn't get outside.
Cats stink.
This
They're
one
not
did.
quite as bad as ferrets, but they stink.
You got to make sure to change that later.
Yeah.
So yeah, we tore out the carpets, tore down the ceiling was plaster, it was laid in plaster, and so we took down all the ceilings, put new drywall up, retextured all the walls. It's looking pretty cool.
So, how long did this entire project kind of take?
Oh, way too long. I'm
Yeah.
embarrassed how long it's taken. We've been doing it for 4 or 5 months, and it's doing it part time. I have a great handyman and contractor that does a lot.
Nice.
But I think there are people that flip houses that I
In like
No.
2 months.
that I know well that
Tops.
just
Yeah.
are way more efficient than I am. And it's been a learning experience for us, and so we're learning from it. Like I said, the main heated point of discussion with Agnes and I is getting that thing freaking done. So we're on the brink. So
Cool.
we're excited.
That's exciting.
So that's a goal, is to get that done. I made a promise to Agnes that I won't buy any more investment properties till those are full. And
Nice.
so I hope towards the tail end of the year that we can have our eye on another project.
Do you think, when you are going to be looking for a new investment property, are you looking like a multi-unit thing, like another triplex or like a townhouse? Like, what are you looking at? For
Yeah,
your upcoming stuff.
yeah. Now that I've bought this triplex,
Mm-hmm.
I've kind of got the bug a little bit of there's just if you can make it work financially, if the numbers work, I'd like to invest in more multifamily.
Yeah. Would
So-
you consider doing 5 or more units, like a commercial type
Yeah.
thing?
100%. Our team, Joe Anderful, our team member, hosted an investor that has hundreds of doors and does a lot of commercial stuff. And
I'm sad I missed that, man. I was out of town.
Oh, you were
I
there.
tried to tune into the Zoom and it wasn't working. So
it was so good. He's a
hopefully I
mentor.
can try to find the replay, but
He's
I'm
a
sad I
mentor.
missed that.
It was good. I think it's recorded,
Yeah.
so we'll send it to you. But he's a mentor of Joe's, and when he was a young man, went from having an 8-plex in downtown or close to the U in Salt Lake City, selling that, having a decent chunk of equity, and buying a 43-plex in Missouri.
Holy.
And so since then, he grew to have hundreds of doors. A lot of it's new development that he does himself, and most of it's Utah and Missouri is kind of his niches. And so learned a lot from him in terms of commercial expansion, and definitely a path that we're eyeing
Nice.
in the foreseeable future.
That's super cool. That's something that I want to do myself. Is have some apartment buildings, have some condos. I don't know, but that's exciting to hear.
Thanks.
Very cool.
So, we all kind of know with the Silicon Valley Bank crashing and the interest rates jumping in other areas, do we see any effect in Utah? Is the market here going to be affected by that, other than obviously the fear that the media has been propagating about that? Is that going to affect purchasing price? Is that going to affect the amount of people that are buying? Is that going to affect investors buying other things like that? What do you?
Great question. So since Silicon Valley Bank crashed in the last, it's been 2 weeks now?
A couple of weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks.
I feel like the market's gotten hotter increasingly. Like I feel like before that happened, these higher interest rates than what we experienced over the pandemic have become the new normal. I mean, when interest rates went up in Q2, late Q1, early Q2 of 2022, people were freaked out. They're like, oh, 6%. Historically, obviously, we know that's relatively low, but that was double, the 3% interest rates that we had mid-pandemic. And so people were freaked out. And it took till the end of 2022, beginning of 2023 for people to realize, hey, this is the new normal. I just have to buy property. There's obviously, there's a demand for housing in Utah. And so I think people got over the fact that interest rates are now 6%. They realized that's the new normal, and it started to normalize. We also started experiencing seasonality in Utah. The hottest season for homes closing in Utah is the spring. There's more homes that close. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So historically, I think it's over the last 10 or 15 years, the highest closing month in Utah is April. And I think number 2 are March and May. So March, April, May, June are the hottest seasons, because once you hit the new year, people are starting to think of school ending. People are starting to think of the warm weather hitting. And so you start seeing more people getting under contract in February, March, closing deals in March, April, May.
Wow.
And so we're experiencing that, and then combine that with what happened with Silicon Valley Bank. People were like, oh, maybe we'll get some relief on interest rates because of these two
dip a little bit.
They dipped. So they went down. They went down a little bit, and people pounced on that. And that's why we started seeing multiple offers over the past couple of weeks, because people are like, oh, we're seeing interest rates in the 5s.
Finally.
This is amazing.
A 5 starts coming back
Yeah.
down.
I mean, correct, the Fed announced a 0.25% raise. Was that today or yesterday?
I think it was yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday. And so that's we'll see what that does to the temperament, but yeah,
4% isn't that much.
it's really not. And I mean, it just feels volatile, which investors don't like, obviously.
No.
But I think people that are needing to buy homes in Utah, whether they're investors or owner occupied, sometimes they're the same. They're feeling pretty bullish in this market. At least that's been the tone for the last month.
No, I get that. I have a lot of people who are pre-approved right now, and constantly I'm just shooting off pre-approval letters because they're putting offers in on like multiple properties and like doing a lot of different things.
Yeah.
So I totally get that. It is getting busy.
It's interesting. It's what I'm trying to project, for my own business, for my own investments, for my own conversations I have with clients is, we see a decline in seasonality once late July and August hit. I think some of the slowest months seasonality-wise are when school starts, so
Right.
August, September, October. So I'm really interested to see, what Q3 of 2023 is going to look like. I hope that, obviously stability is what we all want. I'm hoping that we just see some levelness. Right now we have an inventory shortage.
So maybe some more homes on the market,
Yeah.
some decent interest rates that'll keep stable.
Totally,
That's what you're hoping for.
no doubt. Yep.
Nice.
I've been seeing builders kind of just build. They're just trying to crank them out as quick as possible because of that. And then I also read that it's actually cheaper to build a house right now in Utah than it is to buy.
Right.
Because of that, right? So,
Right. Yeah, cost of supplies has gone down a little bit, which is nice. What builders are really doing is instead of, especially a lot of these production builders, that a lot of them are doing to mitigate their risk. They're starting to spec homes out rather than getting people in
custom
to do
design.
ground up.
Mm-hmm.
That's like a 9 to 12 month process. They're saying, hey, we're just going to spec them all out because we don't know what the market's going to look like 6 to 12 months. Yeah, so it's interesting. I do a ton of business, or I've done a lot of business with people that buy new construction that's 9 months out, from being built, and it gives them the opportunity to put a little bit down and then kind of test the market along the way. Those opportunities aren't really out there as much anymore. Now the builders are just saying, hey, we're going to build spec homes and just sell them right away.
Yeah.
And we choose the finishes. So,
Wow.
yeah, it's interesting.
It's good information, my friend. Thank you.
No problem.
Thanks for coming on, man. I think we're all talked out unless you got something.
This has been good.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
this
stoked
has
for
been
your
great.
podcast, guys. Like I subscribed.
We'll get
Excited
there,
for this to
man.
blow up
We'll
in
get
these
there. It's just consistently posting things is gonna be the problem.
That's the key.
You guys got this.
But we'll do it.
Other than that, I guess